Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to our Thursday night Anamkara meditation program. And can you believe it? This is our last program of 2021. So thank you for joining us this evening. And this is like little New Year's Eve. It's the eve before New Year's Eve. And so we get to be together and celebrate the Infinite One. So thank you for coming. And as emanations of the divine yourself, you bring the fullness of your divine presence to this evening and share it with the Sangha. So thank you for coming. We're going to start with the opening mantras as a way of, helping the mind get attuned to the truth. We are that one. That is the root of who we are. That the fundamental qualities of wisdom, of compassion, of joy, of boundless love, that these are the essential nature of our true self. And mantra as a throb, as a sound form of that infinitude, helps the mind to get attuned to that so that it can become absorbed in that. Because it all day long, all week long, whatever, it becomes absorbed in the minutiae, the details of the ordinary consciousness, especially of the waking state. So to be able to sort of peel consciousness away from all that content and come back to its boundless nature, its infinitude, mantra is an extraordinary instrument for doing that. So we'll start with the opening mantras. Shrimate Kali Mahadevi Chant Jananambo Tanganari Sevitam Kalpirtan Jambo Malachar Bhakshanam Umasutam Shokam Vinashakarakam Namami Vigneshwara Parapankajam Shri Ganeshaya Namaha Shri Ganeshaya Namaha Shri Ganeshaya Namaha Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamandaya Purnamevavashishate Om Shanti 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 Shri Mata Kali Mahadevi Ki Jai. That stillness, that silence is so inviting. So once again, I want to welcome you tonight with all my heart, with all my love. Thank you for joining us on this evening. And who would have known, when we started with the Zoom broadcasts, that was 21 months ago. And when we started, we thought, and we might be doing this for a few months until COVID's over and then get back together again. Here we are, together, but via Zoom. So we count our blessings and we go, whew, can't believe we're still slogging through this, right? And that's really, that's what the power of practice is, empowers us to be able to move through everyday life. And be able to add to the ordinary mind and its consciousness the larger consciousness of our infinite being that holds all that. And it's in that that we take refuge. It's in that that we are then replenished, refreshed, so that we can bring the fullness of being into everyday life. So we'll continue to do and continue to offer our programs, though we're going to have some changes for the new year. And some of these that went out in the e-newsletter. And so we're going to have some new programs coming up. And we have a silent meditation retreat, a one-day virtual via Zoom coming up on January 9th. And some people have been signing up for that. There's still time to register. We're going to close registration a week from tomorrow. So you have until the end of next week to register for that. And registration is simple. You just email me or email Anand Kara, and that'll take care of it. You'll get a response and you'll be all set. And that's going to be a one-day silent meditation retreat. There'll be chanting. And the way it's going to be set up is we're going to do 2 hours of program from 7 to 9 in the morning. Then we're going to do 2 hours from noon until 2 p.m. And then we're going to conclude with 2 hours from 5 to 7 p.m. Those 2-hour segments will be doing chants, rounds of chants, and silent meditation, brief breaks to be able to get up and walk around, do a walking meditation, all at your home. So it's also a beautiful way of being able to incorporate deeper practice into your home. Now, that often also means we need to include our families in the discussion of what that's going to look like and what we're going to be doing that day, so that they're on board with that. So that we can look forward to having a week from this Sunday, so coming up soon, and a time to really deepen practice. It's a time to deepen both the meditative practice, but also the practice of mantra, and the practice of resting in stillness, in silence. You know, we're so used to, the mind is used to, going after movement. And those movements are thoughts, feelings, sensations, things going on in the outside world, things going on in the inner world. It's all movement. But where does that movement arise from? Well, it arises from stillness. It arises from this substratum of silence. And that stillness, that silence, that opens the door to the experience of simply being. Simply being. We're so identified with movements of mind. Well, movements of mind are the doing of mind. Thinking is the doing of mind. Movements of the body is the doing of the body, right? Thoughts can happen and you're sitting perfectly still. The movements of the mind continue. So we want to be able to start to unplug over and over again, not feed our attention, because movement of mind is fed by attention. So when we keep withdrawing the attention from all those thoughts, keep bringing it back to mantra, bringing back to meditative practice, to stillness, then the momentum of that wild mind in its cage starts to slow down, and then it can finally come to rest. Come to rest in the truth of who you are. Opens the door to that living presence of the divine. It's already there, but it's escaping our attention because our attention is locked into the mind. So one-day silent retreat is that kind of opportunity to come into that kind of communion, that kind of union with the divine as the real essence of who we are. And to let that awareness help transform the nature of mind in its busyness. So a great opportunity to be able to do that on January 9th from the comfort of your own home, wherever that may be. Then we have another new program that's going to be starting on the following Sunday, and that's January 16th, and it's going to be at 4 p.m. It's going to be a 6-week course on the soul's journey. And in this 6-week course, it's really going to be an opportunity to discuss, and so it's going to be an interactive Zoom kind of meeting. So again, a virtual meeting. But then we'll have the chance to be interacting and talking back and forth and discussing what's in the Soul's Journey. The book is going to be the backdrop for doing that. And we'll go chapter by chapter. But that is all about our individual journey. And drawing on some of the great archetypal images and themes around the mythic journey, including how the imagery and the teachings from Kundalini Tantra inform our understanding of that journey. Right? Because even the great psychiatrist, Swiss psychiatrist, C.G. Jung, and the great mythologist, Joseph Campbell, wrote about the extraordinary map of that journey that the Kundalini context, the Kundalini Yoga Tantra teachings gives us. And so we'll be looking at these deeper layers of the symbolic meaning of the process of what is awakening, what is the unfolding of that, what's the symbolic meaning of these different centers of consciousness that in the yoga tradition are called chakras. Right? So across that 6 weeks, the course will run an hour each Sunday from 4 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll also have an audio recording, so if you miss one, you'll be able to get the audio recording. And then we'll be able to really get into both what that means on a universal level, these archetypes and this kind of tradition, but also on a more personal level, and how we experience that individually, because it unfolds in the context of each individual's life. Right? So that course, again, is something you can sign up for. Go onto the website and register for that. And again, it's very simple. And both the one-day retreat and the course, the fee, because people always go, what's the fee? The fee is whatever you felt like donating. There'll be a link that you can donate. It won't be a tax-deductible donation. It's called dana. That's a Buddhist term that means the kind of offering or support that one gives for a teacher for giving teachings. And that will be completely up to you, whatever you feel capable of giving, want to give through that. It's all fine. So very easy, very simple, open and accessible to everyone. Now also starting in 2022, we're going to be shifting satsangs. So the satsang on Thursday night, we've been doing every Thursday night for a long time. We're going to switch it to 2 times a month. It's going to be on the first Thursday of each month and the third Thursday of each month. So the first and the third. That means some months when they have a fifth Thursday, it'll be a bit longer period of time, but it's essentially going to be every other week. But it's the first and the third Thursdays. And that too is on the schedule and on the website and in the e-newsletter. That's in part also to make it easier to do other programs and offer programs at other times, especially for the many people who can't make a Thursday evening. So that's why I'm trying to offer a program, for instance, on the Sundays or Sunday afternoon to make that accessible to people. So I hope you'll be able to take advantage of those things. Well, in that Soul's Journey course, part of what we'll be looking at, and it really informs all the practices that we do. Tonight, all the nights in the past, all the things in the future, what we do at home. It looks at, well, what's the deep meaning and purpose of life? If our soul's journey, if what we're looking at in a kind of mythic level of what's unfolding, what have we taken on in this life, what's the meaning of this journey? And different traditions give different answers to that. And the yogic tradition and the Kundalini Yoga Tantra tradition share a perspective on that, along with the Buddhist tradition, that the highest purpose is to know the infinite as our own self, to know the divine, however we might call that. We can call it by any number of different names. But to know that, to revel in that, to be able to have access to that, is really seen as, that's our birthright. By right of a human birth, we have the capability of knowing that. But the typical cultural framework that we're given doesn't really speak to that. If you look at a materialist society and what we're often given as the purpose of life, you would think it was to consume more and more and hoard more and more. That's not what it's about. And the Eastern traditions, and I think all spiritual traditions, look at, no, there's much more to who and what we are, what we're capable of. And the highest expression of that comes in this kind of mystical experience that we are, each and every one of us, capable of having. The experience of going beyond the ordinary mind into states of expanded consciousness, of boundless love, of extraordinary, all-embracing compassion, of wisdom and kindness, that we can then live into the world and inform the world as well as our own life with that direct knowing. So the traditions look at the purpose of human life as a combination of knowing and then serving. Right? So we endeavor to know through practices and letting go of the limited identifications we carry, and then become more and more attuned to how can we really serve in ways that brings greater love and compassion, wisdom and kindness into the world. And that's the root purpose behind all the different practices. It's also beneficial for us because it's in that state of consciousness, of direct knowing, that we also personally get free of suffering on so many different levels. Certain levels of suffering exist. You know, the body, if you pinch it or hurt it or something, it's going to hurt. But when we've added the infinitude of being, when we've added the expansiveness of awareness that literally holds the universe, then the pain and the suffering of this body, which is a true fact, it's diminished in comparison to what we're fully aware of. Right? When we're only aware of the body and mind, it dominates our entire view. It fills our entire experience. And then we're caught in quite a dilemma. Right? Because on the one hand, what does the ordinary mind do in order to try and dampen the experience of suffering? Well, most commonly what it does is it tries to become insensitive in certain ways. That's people practice that in every way, unconsciously, but in ways of diminishing, oh, that doesn't much matter, that's not important, that group's pain is not important, that thing that's suffering, oh no, that doesn't matter. We do it to ourselves. Psychology is filled with ways of examining the dynamics of denial and dissociation and disconnection that are all attempts of the ordinary mind to diminish the pain of its reactivity. So often when people begin to meditate, and part of what meditation does is it starts to open the doors of awareness, the doors of consciousness. That means we're going to notice more. We're going to see more about ourselves, about the world, about suffering, about everything. Right? And part of what the disciplines and practices invite us to do is simultaneously, with increasing sensitivity, increasing awareness, is to decrease reactivity. Because the ordinary mind's strategy for getting free of painful reactivity was to decrease sensitivity. The meditative paradigms really look at, no, we want to increase sensitivity and decrease reactivity. Right? So that the mind isn't being rattled all the time by all that it sees. Right? So here, and the examples abound, from sages and saints to ordinary folks. But if you look at, for instance, Buddha is a prime example. Extraordinarily conscious, extraordinary awareness of the suffering of all beings, and at the same time immersed in these root qualities of what our essential nature is, what he called the Buddha nature. But we could call it the divine self, we could call it Holy Spirit, we could call it any number of different names. But this root quality of boundless love, boundless compassion, boundless joy, unshakable equanimity, these are qualities of our infinite nature. So it's by drawing closer to that and having it inform this body-mind vehicle, that then this body-mind can be sensitive without being reactive. It can be aware of the suffering. When we talked about Tara as a form of that boundless consciousness that hears the cries of suffering of all beings and moves in order to try and relieve that suffering. Well, for most people, if they imagine hearing the cries of suffering of all beings, that's overwhelming. That's crippling. I don't want to hear. The mind goes, I don't want to hear all I'm having a hard enough time with my own suffering. My family suffering, my loved ones. How much suffering can I be aware of? And it's true. That's the perspective of the ordinary mind. Right? It's not the ordinary mind that's going to take in and be aware of the suffering of all beings. That's not its job. Right? What we become aware of is that level of consciousness that already is fully, compassionately, embracingly aware of all creatures, all beings, their suffering, their joy, everything as oneself. That is not a mind-born state. That is not something the mind can even imagine. But in stillness, we draw closer to that, the light of that awareness, the flame. The flame of that love. It informs the mind. It informs the body. It helps relieve them. It helps them to know there's this extraordinary root power of consciousness of the infinite, the divine, holding this all, holding it all. This is what, when we were doing some of the readings from the poet saints a few weeks back, and each one of them, their mind grappling with coming to face with the divine and saying, God, how can this be? And some of them will say, and God says, yes, once you come to know, you'll see at this level, it's all right. I've got it all. Everything, everyone is free of that suffering. Right? But on this limited domain of consciousness, focused and identified with the vehicle of mind and body, then the suffering on that level dominates the mind that is solely, one-pointedly bound in that place. That's why it's opening that door so we have the infinitude of being, the infinitude of our divine nature, informing the mind. So even as it becomes more sensitive, it can let go of reactivity and enter a state of being able to be skillful in how it's going to react, skillful in being empowered to move in ways to help relieve the suffering of others that are within its power to relieve. Can't take on all the suffering in the world. Leave that to your infinite divine nature. The mind can take on some and make an extraordinary difference in doing that. Right? And all this is what unfolds through the practices of meditation. Right? So meditation is both entering that stillness, and it's also a process of revelation. Right? And in part, that's also what we've been celebrating all through the month of December, is various traditions, ways of honoring revelation. Revelation meaning the revelation of divine, the living divine presence in this time, in this place, in this domain of earth. Right? Whether it's the Buddha's enlightenment, whether it's the birth of Christ, whether it's the symbolic rebirth of light through the solstice, through on, the holidays, celebrating that power, revealing itself in different ways. Well, in the yogic tradition, that power of revelation and transformation, well, it's called Kundalini. Kundalini is just a Sanskrit term for the power of revelation and transformation that's inherent to each and every one of us. Awakening is that metaphoric way of talking about how do we then awake to this whole other level of being and knowing that's beyond the ordinary mind, unimaginable to the ordinary mind. So what can bring us there? Not the ordinary mind. It's that power. It's that power, what we call the power of grace, the power of Holy Spirit, the power of Shakti, the power of Kundalini. These are ways of talking about the power of consciousness beyond the mind to open the doors to the direct experience of that mystical, transcendent birthright of ours, to know the infinite as our own self, right? And then be able to come back and walk that into the world day by day. And so when we think about the ways that revelation happens, well, that's why so many traditions make use of the power of mantra. Mantra is a throb of that power. Mantra is, all mantras are seen as arising from Kundalini Shakti, the power of revelation and transformation taking sound form to help quiet the mind and free consciousness from the confines of that. Take us back to direct knowing. So then we can live that into the world. So what we're going to be doing is now a chant. And since we've been talking also through this month about the gifts of the Divine Mother, none of these great beings would have come into being except through the Mother, right? And even in the Heart Sutra, when it talks about Buddha's consciousness, it's Bhagavati Mahaprajna Paramita. It's the great goddess of transcendental wisdom that gives birth to all Buddhas, right? Christ couldn't take a form without coming through Mother. Every being takes form through the Mother. That's why wisdom itself is born into this world through the Mother. That consciousness, that love, all coming through the feminine face of the divine, the feminine face of the infinite, the feminine face of your own sublime self. So when we chant the names of the Great Mother, that's what we're chanting. We're chanting the names that she's been known by around the world, across centuries, that have been used to invoke her living presence here and now. So we're going to chant the names of the great goddess, and names from around the world. And then we're just going to sit in that stillness, the stillness afterwards, right? Because that's also her, that portal of stillness, that portal that's at the center of Mahakali, the Mahakali Yantra, that black bindu, that portal is the stillness, the silence. So we enter there, and then the mind moves, and then we come back to it. The mind moves, we let it go and come back. We just keep letting go, coming back, letting go, coming back. And then we're entering more and more into that divine embrace that's always, always right here, right now. So we're going to chant and then sit in the stillness. And here we begin. Jaya Kali Durge Namo Namah. Jaya Kali Durge Namo Namah. Jaya Mata Kali Devi. Jaya Mata Durga Devi. Jaya Kali Durge Namo Namah. Jaya Kali Durge Namo Namah. Jaya Saraswati Devi. Jaya Saraswati Devi. Jaya Kali Durge Namo Namah. Jaya Kali Durge Namo Namah. Jaya Kundalini Shakti. Jaya Kundalini Shakti. Jaya Kali Durge Namo Namah. Jaya Kali Durge Namo Namah. Jaya Annapurna Devi, Jaya Annapurna Devi, Jaya Kali Durge Namo Namah. Jaya Kali Durge Namo Namah. Jaya Jaya Parvati Devi, Jaya Jaya Parvati Devi, Jaya Kali Durge Namo Namah. Jaya Kali Durge Namo Namah. Jaya Mahalakshmi Devi, Jaya Mahalakshmi Devi, Jaya Kali Durge Namo Namah. Jaya Kali Durge Namo Namah. Jaya Jaya Bhairavi Devi, Jaya Jaya Bhairavi Devi, Jaya Kali Durge Namo Namah. Jaya Kali Durge Namo Namah. Jaya Jaya Chamundi Devi, Jaya Jaya Chamundi Devi, Jaya Kali Durge Namo Namah. Jaya Kali Durge Namo Namah. Jaya Jaya Ganga Mahadevi, Jaya Jaya Ganga Mahadevi, Jaya Kali Durge Namo Namah. Jaya Kali Durge Namo Namah. Jaya Jaya Jamuna Devi, Jaya Jaya Jamuna Devi, Jaya Kali Durge Namo Namah. Jaya Kali Durge Namo Namah. Jaya Jaya Chandrika Devi, Jaya Jaya Chandrika Devi, Jaya Kali Durge Namo Namah. Jaya Kali Durge Namo Namah. Jaya Jaya Karuna Devi, Jaya Jaya Karuna Devi, Jaya Kali Durge Namo Namah. Jaya Kali Durge Namo Namah. Jaya Jaya Kalyani Devi, Jaya Jaya Kalyani Devi, Jaya Kali Durge Namo Namah. Jaya Kali Durge Namo Namah. Jaya Jaya Sita Devi, Jaya Jaya Sita Devi, Jaya Kali Durge Namo Namah. Jaya Kali Durge Namo Namah. Jaya Jaya Radha Devi, Jaya Jaya Radha Devi, Jaya Kali Durge Namo Namah. Jaya Kali Durge Namo Namah. Jaya Jaya Rudrani Devi, Jaya Jaya Rudrani Devi, Jaya Kali Durge Namo Namah. Jaya Kali Durge Namo Namah. Jaya Jaya Brahmani Devi, Jaya Jaya Brahmani Devi, Jaya Kali Durge Namo Namah. Jaya Kali Durge Namo Namah. Jaya Jaya Om Mahadevi, Jaya Jaya Om Mahadevi, Jaya Kali Durge Namo Namah. Jaya Kali Durge Namo Namah. Jaya Jaya Tara Mahadevi, Jaya Jaya Tara Mahadevi, Jaya Kali Durga Namo Namah, Jaya Kali Durga Namo Namah, Jaya Jaya Kuan Yin Devi, Jaya Jaya Kuan Yin Devi, Jaya Kali Durga Namo Namah, Jaya Kali Durga Namo Namah, Jaya Jaya Kanan Devi, Jaya Jaya Kanan Devi, Jaya Kali Durga Namo Namah, Jaya Kali Durga Namo Namah, Jaya Jaya Nana Devi, Jaya Jaya Nana Devi, Jaya Kali Durga Namo Namah, Jaya Kali Durga Namo Namah, Jaya Jaya Isis Devi, Jaya Jaya Isis Devi, Jaya Kali Durga Namo Namah, Jaya Kali Durga Namo Namah, Jaya Jaya Shekinah Devi, Jaya Jaya Shekinah Devi, Jaya Kali Durga Namo Namah, Jaya Kali Durga Namo Namah, Jaya Mother Mary Devi, Jaya Mother Mary Devi, Jaya Kali Durga Namo Namah, Jaya Kali Durga Namo Namah, Jaya Mary Magdalena Devi, Jaya Mary Magdalena Devi, Jaya Kali Durga Namo Namah, Jaya Kali Durga Namo Namah, Jaya Jaya Hekate Devi, Jaya Jaya Hekate Devi, Jaya Kali Durga Namo Namah, Jaya Kali Durga Namo Namah, Jaya Jaya Demeter Devi, Jaya Jaya Demeter Devi, Jaya Kali Durga Namo Namah, Jaya Kali Durga Namo Namah, Jaya Jaya Kare Devi, Jaya Jaya Kare Devi, Jaya Kali Durga Namo Namah, Jaya Kali Durga Namo Namah, Jaya Jaya Sophia Devi, Jaya Jaya Sophia Devi, Jaya Kali Durga Namo Namah, Jaya Kali Durga Namo Namah, Jaya Jaya Freya Devi, Jaya Jaya Freya Devi, Jaya Kali Durga Namo Namah, Jaya Kali Durga Namo Namah, Jaya Black Madonna Devi, Jaya Black Madonna Devi, Jaya Kali Durga Namo Namah, Jaya Kali Durga Namo Namah, Jaya Jaya Bridget Devi, Jaya Jaya Bridget Devi, Jaya Kali Durga Namo Namah, Jaya Kali Durga Namo Namah, Jaya Grandmother Spirit, Jaya Grandmother Spirit, Jaya Kali Durga Namo Namah, Jaya Kali Durga Namo Namah, Jaya Our Lady of Guadalupe, Jaya Our Lady of Guadalupe, Jaya Kali Durga Namo Namah, Jaya Kali Durga Namo Namah, Jaya Jaya Pele Devi, Jaya Jaya Pele Devi, Jaya Kali Durga Namo Namah, Jaya Kali Durga Namo Namah, Mama Mahadevi, Mama Mahadevi, Mama Mahadevi, Mama Mahadevi, Mama Mahadevi, Jaya Kali Durge Namo Namah, Jaya Kali Durge Namo Namah, Mama Mahadevi, Mama Mahadevi, Jaya Kali Durge Namo Namah, Jaya Kali Durge Namo Namah, Jaya Kali Durge Namo Namah, Mama Mahadevi, Mama Mahadevi, Jaya Kali Durge Namo Namah, Jaya Kali Durge Namo Namah, Mama Mahadevi, Jaya Kali Durge Namo Namah, Jaya Kali Durge Namo Namah, Mama Mahadevi, Mama Mahadevi, Jaya Kali Durge Namo Namah, Jaya Kali Durge Namo Namah. Mama. Take refuge in Ma. Just come to rest. A loving embrace. Meditation isn't work. It's letting go. It's letting go. You're invited to let go into that divine embrace. Loving embrace. Breathe and let go. Breathe and let go. It doesn't matter what the mind does. It does not matter. It doesn't matter if it's there, thinking or not. That divine embrace, always present, holds it all, including the mind. Come to rest. Just shift your attention. Just shift your awareness to Ma. Ma.
Become so still, so silent in that presence. You feel that presence of the divine. And in that stillness, in that silence, you can feel the divine. That God leans forward so intimately. And she whispers in your ear, I love you. I am you. And you merge. And all the pain, all the suffering is gone. And the two become one. That's the truth of who you are. That's the truth of what you can know fully, intimately, directly. Into the stillness, into that silence, and all that's beyond words becomes known
boundless love beyond words. So we end with this prayer that may all our practices truly benefit everyone, and may all beings know complete freedom from suffering. Namaste. So what better way to end a year, begin a year, end a day, begin a day, end this moment, begin the next, in love, in the divine. In the divine is to be in love. And in that love, no one's left out. And I end with this New Year blessing. So as the old year comes to a close, may you deeply inhale all the gifts and blessings it brought, and exhale fully all the pain and suffering you've endured. Let the knowledge and strength you developed moving through the past be fully present as you greet the new year. May you know the living presence of the divine that warms and comforts your soul like the gentle rays of the sun caressing your face on a winter day. May you feel the living presence of the divine in the tides of your breath, in the drum beats of your heart, in the light in a loved one's eyes, in the warmth of their touch. May your presence in the world be a quiet reminder for others of God's gracious and generous presence. For you carry the one in your heart wherever you go, whether you know it or not. And may you tread your path through time, leaving footprints of love, compassion, and wisdom. And may you greet the new year with wonder and delight, and the courage born of knowing the divine's embrace at all times, in every place. I love you. I love you. Thank you. Thank you for coming this evening in all your fullness, in all your glory, in all the ways it manifests as imperfections, foibles, issues. Everything is embraced by the divine. Everything is an emanation of the divine. Ein od milvado. There is nothing that is not God. Nashivam vidyate kvachit. There is nothing that is not the consciousness of the auspicious one. This is the truth. Coming to rest in that. That's where true freedom lies. So again, with all my heart and with all my love, I thank you for coming this evening. I thank you for coming and supporting Anam Cara in the many ways that you do. And I look forward to being together with you throughout time. Namaste. I look forward to seeing you next week.